The shift from free degradable paper bags to paid reusable plastic bags was presented as an environmental initiative. However, a deeper analysis reveals that it often functioned as a cost-saving and profit-generating move for grocery chains, while doing little to address the larger, more systemic issue of single-use plastic in consumer packaged goods. The environmental benefit of reusable bags is heavily contingent on actual reuse rates, which are undermined by consumer trends to treat them as disposable fashion items or to forget them, leading to repurchasing. Let's dive deeper, starting with a comparison of raw material usage and environmental impact. First, let's look at paper-based degradable bags, which were formerly free, for raw materials. The use primarily virgin or recycled wood pulp. A single paper bag requires significant amounts of water, energy, and chemicals to produce, such as pulping agents. It is resource-intensive per unit. In terms of per capita consumption, when free, consumption was high. A customer might use 4 to 5 bags per trip. Annually, this could amount to hundreds of bags per household. On the environmental impact. With respect to production, there is high water usage, chemical discharge from pulping mills, and higher greenhouse gas emissions per bag compared to a thin plastic bag. However, the raw material is renewable, and the bags are biodegradable and compostable in proper conditions, preventing long-term litter. As to end of life, it decomposes in months, returning to the ecosystem without leaving persistent microplastics. Now, let us assess reusable plastic bags, which are now sold to consumers. For raw materials, they are typically non-woven polypropylene, PP, a type of plastic. These bags are much thicker and more durable, requiring significantly more plastic per bag than a single-use polyethylene bag. In terms of per capita consumption, this is the critical variable. The environmental break-even point, where the reusable bag's impact is less than the single-use bags it replaces, is typically between 10 and 100 uses, depending on the study. So on the environmental impact, for production, there is high fossil fuel extraction, energy-intensive manufacturing, and chemical use. The initial environmental cost of one reusable bag is many times higher than one single-use bag of any type. As to end of life, polypropylene is recyclable in theory, but in practice, most curbside recycling programs do not accept them. They often end up in landfills, where they degrade slowly or as litter. They are not biodegradable. And now, the crucial factor: actual usage versus consumer trend. The entire environmental calculus of reusable bags collapses if they are not reused sufficiently. Narratives often focus on the ideal. A consumer buys 4 to 5 reusable bags and uses them hundreds of times over several years. But in reality, this is not observed. Reality is complicated by factors such as forgetfulness. Consumers frequently forget bags at home, leading to the repurchase at each visit trend. This creates a per capita consumption of multiple reusable bags per year, completely negating their environmental purpose. Or the impulse and fashion factor. Reusable bags are often sold as cheap, branded, or fashionable items. Consumers collect them from different stores or buy new designs, treating them as disposable accessories rather than durable goods. Then there is hygiene and wear. Bags get dirty, torn, or forgotten, prompting disposal and replacement. The result: instead of one reusable bag replacing 500 single-use bags, we see a scenario where a consumer might own 50 reusable bags over a decade, each used only 10 times. In this case, the total raw material usage and environmental impact would be far worse than using single-use paper bags. But this is only a small fraction of the real environmental story. Let's take a look at the situation from a broader, objective perspective. The broader plastic problem: grocery store packaging. This analysis highlights a profound hypocrisy. While the grocery chain focuses the consumer's environmental guilt on the checkout bag, a walk through the store reveals a tsunami of unnecessary plastic that they continue to profit from. This is found in bakery items, the classic example. Fresh bread, muffins, and rolls are often sold in plastic clamshells or bags, whereas a simple paper bag or box would suffice, and is often preferred for product quality, preventing sogginess. Or in produce, individually plastic-wrapped cucumbers, peppers on styrofoam trays with plastic wrap, pre-cut fruits in plastic tubs. But mostly, it is found in consumer packaged goods. The vast majority of products on shelves, from crackers and cookies to pasta and detergent, are housed in plastic packaging or have plastic components. This is where the real volume of plastic waste is generated. That point warrants extra emphasis. The real volume of plastic waste threatening the environment is not caused by citizens, but by the massive CPG companies and their irresponsible and unnecessary use of plastic. They do this because plastic is cheaper for brands, lightweight, durable for shipping, and extends shelf life. And it is rarely recycled. Despite the recycling symbols, investment in closed-loop recycling for these complex plastics is minimal. Most is downcycled, shipped abroad, or landfilled. But the core driving factor is that it is profitable for grocers. They sell these products without bearing the cost of the packaging waste disposal. Hence the need to focus on guilting the consumer at the checkout. It is a marketing-designed distraction to misplace the focus of the core issue, and it leverages the human tendency found in those with marginal intelligence to turn on their cohort and make the topic a matter of virtue signaling and division. From the perspective of executing a manipulating strategy to deflect responsibility for enormous social cost, using and leveraging known sociological and psychological flaws in the human organism, the strategy of reusable plastic bags sold at profit is sheer brilliance. Towards sustainable, sane behavior, it is utter nonsense. And here we find the crux of the matter. We are talking about corporate grocery chain strategy, a case of misdirection and offloading. The narrative and implementation strongly suggest a strategic corporate decision rather than a purely environmental one, likely informed by external consulting agents. This strategy incorporates cost offloading. By eliminating free bags, paper or plastic, the grocery chain immediately erased a significant operational expense, the cost of purchasing billions of bags annually. This cost was directly transferred to the consumer. And also profit center creation. Reusable bags are not sold at cost. They have a high markup. A bag that costs a few cents to manufacture is sold for $1 to $2. What was once an expense line item became a high-margin merchandise category. The repurchase trend only amplifies this profit. While sidestepping the real issue, the campaign against checkout bags successfully shifted public discourse and regulatory attention away from the much larger and more complex problem of product packaging. The grocery chains could position themselves as green by tackling a highly visible, low-hanging fruit, the checkout bag, while their core business model continued to depend on and profit from the sale of products encased in record amounts of unrecyclable plastic. Consumer packaged goods companies have overwhelmingly resisted significant investment in redesigning packaging for recyclability or using post-consumer recycled content. They prioritize cost, branding, and shelf impact. Grocery chains, as the powerful retailers, have the leverage to demand better from their suppliers, but have largely failed to do so in a meaningful, systemic way. The comparison reveals a troubling disconnect. The fight over checkout bags has been a distraction, and in many cases a counterproductive one. The reusable bag model, as implemented, often leads to higher per capita consumption of plastic in the form of thick, rarely reused bags, compared to a system of free, degradable paper bags. The true environmental failure lies not at the checkout counter, but on the store shelves. Grocery chains and CPG companies have engaged in a form of environmental misdirection, making the consumer pay for and feel responsible for a small part of the waste stream, while the vast, unaddressed river of plastic packaging from sold goods continues to flow unabated, with no significant corporate investment in circular solutions. The reusable bag became a symbol of green virtue for the consumer and a new revenue stream for the corporation, while the core problem of plastic pollution was left largely untouched. But it was a calculated grift. From the very start, it was never about the environment. And as with all grifts and psychological operations, it leveraged key flaws in human intelligence and behavior. And it worked. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching.